On the morning of the 11th we resumed the march on Trevilian, meeting at once and driving the enemy's advance parties in our front. Torbert had the leading division, and, at a point about 3 miles from Trevilian Station, encountered the enemy in full force behind a line of breastworks constructed in dense timber. Custer, with his brigade, was ordered to take a wood road found on our left and get to Trevilian Station, or at least in rear of the enemy, and attack his led horses. In following this road he passed between Fitz Lee's and Hampton's divisions, the former being on the road leading from Louisa Courthouse to where the battle commenced, the latter on the direct road from Trevilian to the same point and on, without opposition, to Trevilian Station, which he took possession of. As soon as I found that Custer had gotten to the rear of the enemy, the remaining 2 brigades of Torbert's division were dismounted and formed line of battle, assailed the enemy's works, and carried them, driving Hampton's division pell-mell and at a run back on Custer, at Trevilian, who commenced fighting in all directions. So panic-stricken was this division, Hampton's, and so rapidly was it pushed that some of it was driven through Custer's lines, and many captured. While the 1st Division was thus engaged, Gregg attacked Fitz Lee on the Louisa Courthouse Road, and drove him in the direction of Louisa Courthouse. The pursuit was continued until about dark. Hampton's division made its way in the direction of Gordonsville, and was joined during the night by Fitz Lee, who made a detour westward for that purpose. At night my command encamped at Trevilian Station, and from prisoners, of which we had captured about 500, I learned that Hunter, instead of coming toward Charlottesville, as I had reason to suppose, was at or near Lexington, moving apparently on Lynchburg, that Ewell's corps was on its way to Lynchburg, on the south side of James River, and that Breckinridge was at Gordonsville or Charlottesville, having passed up the railroad, as heretofore. To collect our own wounded and those of the enemy in hospitals, and to make provision for their transportation back in ammunition wagons and in vehicles collected from the country. I was still further influenced in my decision to return by the burden which these wounded threw upon me, there being over 500 cases of our own, and the additional burden of about 500 prisoners, all of whom must have been abandoned by mine in case I proceeded farther. Besides, one more engagement would have reduced the supply of ammunition to a very small compass. On the morning of June 12 we commenced destroying the railroad to Louisa Courthouse, and in the afternoon I directed Torbert to make a reconnaissance up the Gordonsville Road to secure a byroad leading over Mallory's Ford, on the North Anna, to the Catharpin Road, as I proposed taking that route and returning, and proceeding to Spotsylvania Courthouse, thence, via Bowling Green and Dunkirk, to the White House. In the reconnaissance Torbert became heavily engaged, first one brigade, then another, then the last, the battle continuing until after dark. Gregg during this time was breaking up the railroad to Louisa Courthouse. Very respectfully, your obedient servant. A. T. A. Torbert. Brigadier General of Volunteers, Commanding. Lieutenant Colonel James W. Forsythe. Chief of Staff, Cavalry Corps.